Good evening, everyone. My apologies for keeping you waiting. We are here on a Tuesday. Can you believe in the middle of August? Time is going really, really fast this year, but we're grateful for our space here and that we are purposed and purposeful and we're in the right place at the right time, going at the right speed. So, yes, happy Tuesday to all of you. I am excited about this topic that we've been expounding on this month, and that is about being purposeful leader and finding clarity. And I find that some people still are searching to an extent. And I believe that this is because, and this is my personal opinion, I have not done any kind of formal study about it, but just in my experiences of being a teacher and being in the corporate environment and whatnot, that I feel we've been sold a, a narrative that has not helped us over the years as it relates to purpose and being very clear about our lives and the direction of our lives, you know. And I'm actually writing on it now, and I'm going to share with you a little bit of um, what I'm going to have in this book, a model on a purpose-centered life. I'm very excited to share that with you tonight. But really, the book is called An Upside Down Life, the Upside Down Life, because I believe we've been asked this question. All of us have been asked this question. What do you want to be when you grow up? Right? Anybody been asked that question? Let me see who's alive in the chat and kicking and awake. The only person allowed to sleep in this session is Chidi because it is what kind of hour where you are now? 2 a.m.
Past 12.
Oh, just 12. Okay, it's still a little late though to be talking work talkish stuff. Who has been asked that question in your lifetime? And I'm sure you've been asked that question as a young person, right? What do you want to be when you grow up? Tell me yes, no, yes or no. Have you been asked that question in your life? Okay, you got a couple yeses here.
Question, you want verbal answers or answers in the chat?
You can answer openly or in the chat. I'm flexible. So, yes, we've been asked that question, but there's something fundamentally wrong with the question. And this is what I'm exploring in the book. Because when we ask that question, what do you want to be? Now, some of you may or may not know, but I started my career as an English teacher. So every word counts and every word has meaning, right? So when you refer to a what in the English language, you're typically referring to a thing, right? And typically, when people ask that question, they are pointing us toward a career, the what, the do. What are you going to do with your life, right? What are you going to do with your life? And who do you want to be? Two very different fundamental questions. And in my view, purpose is the thing that brings it all together. Because truly, whatever you do in life, whether that's career or anything else, should come out of who you are. So your purpose, your sense of being and existence should drive every decision you make. So what do we end up having? People who chase careers. And then what ends up happening? What is the next ripple effect? You chase a career, and then your identity is tied up in this career. And then you have people who are, you know, they're so wrapped up in the career that other aspects of their life suffer. God help if they lose that job for one reason or the other. And it's almost as if their lives are in a tailspin. Purpose is the anchor for us. So we've really been asking the wrong question. You know, who do we want to be? Who am I? And what is the purpose of me being on this planet? And how do I reveal that? And where do I reveal that? Where do I express that? One of the ways is through a career, but that's not the only way, right? And so that's really what I want to share in this short presentation with you tonight on moving from purpose to clarity and how we as leaders and we as individuals, because of course we're a person first, a leader is only a role that we play, it's a responsibility that we have, right? But that doesn't direct our entire being. And this is why people will walk away from careers because it just doesn't fit. You saw some of the posts already that we've had talking about misalignment. And that's really what it is. That we find ourselves chasing something that really isn't even us. It really isn't even what we feel connected to. And then how do we break out of this trap? Because we're like, hey, I need to work. I need to make money. I need to have a career. That's what we're supposed to do. And we have all of these questions. So hopefully we can get to a point of clarity as we talk about purpose tonight. So purpose gives direction. Purpose tells us what is it that I'm about, right? Purpose defines who I am. Purpose defines what I am aligned with. And then when we are clear about why I am here, then we are able to move toward it. So this is why we're saying here that purpose gives direction, clarity creates movement. When you're not clear is when you tend to be stagnant, or the word we like to say, stuck. I feel stuck because I'm really not clear. I don't know where to go. I don't know what direction to go in. Forward, back, sideways, I don't know. But when we understand our direction, when we have that sense of knowing, then we are clear and then we are able to move with conviction, as it says there, move with courage. So, how do we get this clarity? Well, first, we have to reconnect with our current position in life. Where am I now? Where am I now? And oftentimes we can tend to look and say, well, boy, I really should be a whole lot further on than I am, right? A lot of people feel that way. I feel like I've wasted time, I've wasted years focusing on this or that, and I should be somewhere else right now. One of the things that I would like to dispel is that wherever you are right now is where you're supposed to be. And that's a tough one sometimes because sometimes I feel that way. I feel like, boy, if I had not made that decision or if I had done that differently, I'd be so much further along. But I've also recognized that every stage of the journey has prepared me for the person that I am and the contribution that I'm able to give. And so if I had made some different decisions, I had moved in a different direction, I probably wouldn't be where I am. I probably wouldn't have the mindset that I have. I probably would not have the heart that I have. So even in what we would call missteps or, delays, poor choices, whatever the case may be that we call them, you're right where you need to be. So here I am right now, August 18th, 2026, at 7:24 p.m. or at 12:24 a.m. This is where I am. Then we want to recognize the clues already pointing to your purpose. So one of the things about purpose is not about, as I mentioned before, roles and responsibilities. It's really about where what we have been sent to the planet to do. And so it transcends roles, it transcends responsibilities. So that means some people feel like, well, my purpose in life is to be a good parent. Actually, it's not. And that may sound harsh. And the reason why I say this is at some point, your children are going to grow up. Your children are going to leave home. Some of us pray that they will, right? They will have families of their own. They will have lives of their own. They will move on. And then what? So we talk about empty nest and people feeling lost because now I made all of my efforts the last 18 to 20 years focusing on this particular mission. But is that your purpose? So your purpose transcends roles and responsibilities. Your purpose is not to be the best spouse to your husband or to your wife, if there are men on the call, right? It's not your purpose. Your purpose transcends the gifts and talents that you have. So you may be a great communicator, you may be a teacher, you may be a leader, you may be whatever it is that you are, right? Your purpose is what you have come to achieve through the use of your gifts. I used to be very confused about this. And especially when you are multi-talented, you start to let your life follow the gift. So there's a period in my life, as I told you, I started off as a teacher, and so I was full on immersed into this teaching gift. And then I sing as well. So I got into doing praise and worship in church, and I was totally immersed for probably 20 solid years of just that. And I thought it was that. And then I got into this HR thing. And then it was just one thing after the other, writing and speaking and doing all of these things. And I had to realize that what was the central factor here? The central factor is what my purpose is. And if my purpose is to teach, model, and inspire purposeful living to people who want to be radically limitless, then I had to understand that every gift that I had needed to help me express that purpose. So, did that mean that because a part of my purpose is to teach, that it means I need to be in the classroom? I started my career in the classroom, I came out of the classroom, but I'm still teaching. So, when we have clarity about our purpose, it can kind of break the box of limitation of where and how and when. And then when we are looking at these clues, we can translate this purpose into career alignment. So for having an understanding of purpose means then, how do I now choose where I want to spend my time, the type of organization that I want to work with? So this may not be my company, but it's so aligned with what I believe, what's important to me, and how I'm able to achieve my purpose within the framework of this organization. And then we want to commit tonight to a courageous pursuit step. How are we going to choose to move forward in the direction of our purpose If we are feeling stuck or fearful, how do we move forward? So here's how we look at our current position in life. Let's look at what is going well. What am I enjoying about what's happening in my life right now? And that can be in any aspect of your life. It could be about work, it could be about relationships, your social life, your health, your finances. What is going well for you? What would I want to change? What can change? What could be better? And something can always change, but we don't want to hold ourselves in judgment to what can change. It's just information, right? And understanding this is what I need to focus on. So for me, I have been focusing on spending more time for myself. I spent a lot of time helping other people. And I recognized that I was out of balance with that. So it's not about not helping people, but it's like, how am I prioritizing the things that are important to me and the things that I want to do and to achieve and the things that I want to become? So I've been focusing on writing, as I mentioned to you, a couple projects underway, book wise. I also said, you know what? I've been talking about visibility online. I also need to be more visible. You may say, well, what? More visible than you are? Yes, visible in a different way. So I may be visible online posting, but visible in terms of showing up in spaces. And that is an area that was a struggle point for me because believe it or not, I can be quite the introvert when I'm ready. And I am very much the work home person. Work home church, work home grocery store, right? That's pretty much me. But I've been challenged to put myself in different rooms, different spaces, different circles of people, and to just expand my territory, expand my scope, my horizon, right? It's always great to do that. So I've been challenging myself in that intentionally. And then I've been focusing more on my health and trying to get a rhythm into exercise and eating better and trying to get more sleep and all of that sort of thing. And then I've also been focusing on my finances. I have some goals that I want to achieve personally. And so there are lots of things there that needed to change, right? And some of it is even tied to the health, because I found I've eaten out all the time, working late, getting home late. So you're buying something, you're spending more money, and you're not eating right, right? Like all of these things kind of work together. So I'm just giving you personal examples of what I have made the decision to change, right? This third question is very important that sometimes we cannot answer. What do I really want? And sometimes we don't answer this truthfully because we're afraid of the answer. We can't be afraid of the answer because the answer is your key. What do I really want? For me, I work hard. I'm trying to structure what I'm doing. Why? Because I eventually want to do what I do for me fully, not sharing my time with an organization because there's some freedoms that I want and some things that I want to do with my time that having to share my time doesn't allow me to do. But I have to put things in place to do that. I have to not be afraid to say, you know what? I love the season that I'm in, but I want more. Sometimes we feel guilty about that. Sometimes we feel guilty about changing direction. Sometimes we are afraid of the opposition that we will get when we share with loved ones what you really want. And that's why I've learned in this season, this last year, 2 years, to move in silence. Not everybody is going to understand what you really want. And that sometimes is what stops us from moving forward. We share too much because we want people to affirm us and to validate our decisions. And so sometimes we have to just acknowledge this is where I am. I'm loving this. I want to change this. What do I want? And how am I going to move past the obstacles to get there? And I have to identify what those obstacles are. The obstacle might be your finances or your health or your loved ones or people who are resisting or challenging the things that you want to do. It might be your actual job. It might be your health. It might be so many other things. But what is important is to be able to ask this question of yourself. What is this season asking me to acknowledge before I accelerate? And this question is very important because for me, yes, we want things. And this is what I tended to do, especially in my younger years, right? Very impulsive, risk taker. I'll get out there and this is what I feel like. Get out there and do it. If I believe in it, I'm going to do it. But then I didn't really count the cost, as the Bible says, right? I didn't really plan it properly. Didn't really focus on what I needed to focus on. And so when we plan, it doesn't delay us, but it just slows us down a little bit to make sure that we're factoring in all the necessary things. So for me, yes, I know I want to grow my business, but I also recognize that if I really pushed out there, was I ready from a back end standpoint, systems, structure, staffing, all of these areas? Am I ready for more? And I realized that I was not. And so those are the things that I'm working on in the background to make sure that I can accelerate, that I can scale, that I can service the people that I want to serve effectively and efficiently. All right. Does that make sense? Anybody want to comment so far? How we doing out there?
I
What is
just
this
think,
season asking you to do? Hi, Brunel.
sorry I joined in late, but I caught a good little bit. And I thought it's really powerful. Like you say, sometimes you're afraid to make those steps, those challenges, and what it is that you want to do. Um, and like thinking outside of the box. Yes, how do I balance? Like you say, maybe you think your calling is to be a good wife or a good teacher or a good whatever it is in life, but sometimes that's not where it's supposed to be. And like until we can find that clarity, and I like the point of moving in silence because I found that in moving in silence, you tend, like you say, we sometimes we share too much. And sometimes people who you think are supporting your views or your goals are not really true. Sometimes they are destiny blockers. And
Mhm.
so, and sometimes they can be discouraging as well. And then you lose focus on what your true passion is. And so I like the examples and the tidbits that you have been sharing, taking it from a personal view. It helps us to identify and look within ourselves at some of the things that search ourselves what is really going well, what can we change, and like you say, we're afraid sometimes what we really want to do, what is it that we really want, and like sometimes you don't really hear that answer as well because you're not sure, you know what you want, but it's like, do you think this possible? And then we're like, okay, this isn't me, but how would you know if you don't, I mean, venture out and try? And so
Mhm.
sometimes we try different things and we'll be amazed on what we are capable of doing and the talents that lie within us. Sometimes
Yes.
it takes persons to pull that talent out of you because I know I was shy, but I never thought that I would be, standing up
Yeah.
leading people. And I was like, when you had a leader that sees something in you, and I was like, no, I can't do that. No, no, not me. Yeah, I'm a behind the scene person. And they say, no, you're not. And I'm like, yes, I am. And so you find yourself juggling, and then sometimes it takes other people to see some things in you that you don't even know exist. And so here I am today, a bit more outspoken, a bit more passionate about different things. And so, I stepped outside of the box, and I'm grateful to persons who tend to point out some things in me that I did not know existed. So stepping outside the box, it really adds flavor to your life. So I just want to
Yes.
encourage persons to know, like you say, reflect on it, what is working, what is not working, how can I improve this way, or what is it that I really want, and setting those goals to work towards what it is that you want, and taking the baby steps. And yes, sometimes it may fail, but don't give up. Not because it didn't work out the first time, try again, because you're going to have those little bumps in the road. So I just want to encourage persons to listen to the tips and follow their heart's desire.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And that is so, so true. And I've learned that over the years too. A lot of times it will be trial and error. Sometimes it won't work out the way you expect it to. Um, Sometimes, like for me, because I see it, like the end of it, I want to see the whole thing the way I saw it at the end. But I've also realized that there's power in the beginning, right? And the beginning will not always look like it looked at the end. Sometimes we just need to start, and we need to start small. And then we just need to grow it and learn the lessons. And oftentimes, God is working on us as the person with a purpose, right? The purpose is ready. It's been ready. It's been ready from the beginning of time, right? But sometimes we have to move up to the level of where the purpose is. You know, there's a lot of shedding that we have to do in order to be ready to step out. But it doesn't mean that we'll never be ready. We just got to step out and try and learn and grow. So thank you so much for sharing that. So this is the model that I wanted to share with you, and I'll tell you where this really came from. It was really a divine inspiration. And I know many of you on this call would be familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And a friend of mine shared with me how they had changed the pyramid. They had added something now to the tip top of the pyramid. It ended at self-actualization, right? And then and that was the tip of the pyramid there. And so my friend shared with me this newest model of it, where on top of self-actualization, they had transcendence. And transcendence was this sense of purpose and living from purpose. And when I looked at the model, that's when all of this really hit me. Like I had this whole concept of this question that I told you about before, this question that we've been asking wrong all this time. And then when he sent me this image, and I'm looking at this image, and I'm like, what if we've been doing this all wrong too? Because what I found, and I don't think it's necessarily wrong, and I don't think it was Maslow's intent. I think it was just his way of categorizing the various needs that we have as human beings. And so that in and of itself is not wrong. But I think I don't know if it was an unconscious interpretation that we've had over the years, but it's almost as if we feel like we have to ascend this pyramid to get to self actualization and now transcendence, which is living in purpose, which means that can some of us be stuck at that security level, right? Basic needs, physiological needs, then maybe safety and security and all of that. And then the belonging and self-esteem and all that. So as I continue to evolve as a person, then I become. And I started to think about that. And I'm like, what if we have this all wrong? Like, what if we are actually supposed to be starting at the top of this pyramid and everything else will line up to us having this sense of purpose and transcendence above? That's what transcendence is, anyhow, is a transcendence above everything else. And I remember sharing this in another group, and they're like, yeah, but we need those basic needs. We need money. We need shelter. We need safety and security and all of that. Yes, we do. But I've also found that having a clear sense of who you are and understanding your direction also helps you to find all of these other things with better clarity. So when we have purpose at the center, living life with a sense of meaning, a sense of direction, identity, and motivation, then we are going to face life differently. We are going to live life differently. So, for instance, if we go to the top of that model, having that sense of purpose, meaning and direction, identity, now I have an understanding of who I am and what I'm called to do. This gives me motivation. This gives me greater vigor and momentum to push forward. This gives me now a sense of growth. I want to learn. I want to stretch. I want to become. I want to understand. I'm always searching and looking and learning and keeping my mind open and fresh for different things. So when trends are happening and all that, I'm not closed off to it and I'm not entirely afraid. I may be a bit overwhelmed, but I'm not going to be afraid. Because I remember when a friend of mine, she is a Bahamian and she lives in America, and she would come every once in a while and she would host these gatherings where she would share things that are trending or whatever, I guess, in America and her field and what she was doing. And I remember a few years ago when she came down and had this one of her gatherings, and she's talking about AI and ChatGPT. And I was like, Lord, what is this again? What is this next thing? But because she did that, it made me open because, again, like I told you, we got to be in the room, right? We got to be in spaces that's going to push you outside of the comfort zone and understand that everything is flowing the way it should. I had to meet her. I had to go, and I met her actually. She was a speaker at an event that I was at, and she shared a book that she had written, etc. And so I just continued to connect with her beyond that. But because of meeting her, following her, going into this connect a few years before ChatGPT became the rage here, I was already exposed. I wasn't using it because I was like overwhelmed. I'm like, I can't take on another thing until I got past that feeling. And I said, let me try this thing. And I started to use it. And I was like, okay, I'm down. And then people would then come and say, well, oh, are you familiar with this and that? And somebody was trying to come and teach me, oh, let me teach you what I know about AI. Or when they realized all the things that I was already doing, they was like, oh, wow, I don't need to teach you nothing, you know? Because why? We're growing, we're learning. Why? Because of my purpose. I need to know. I need to be able to share because I'm sharing, I'm coaching. How can I help people if I am not continuing to progress? Then people will be stuck at my level of growth, right? So my sense of meaning and direction causes me to grow. My sense of meaning and purpose now makes me conscious about my well-being. And you will see more and more of things that I'm pushing out. Well-being will always be somewhere in there because I believe that this has been so badly neglected over the years, and especially for us in leadership especially for people of faith, etc. We have been taught to kind of put our emotional health, our mental health, even our physical health. We've been taught to push until you can't push anymore, push till you're tired, till you're ready to drop, and people will say, well, boy, all I good for to go home and get something to eat and take a shower and hit the sack. Like, is that life? Is that what you're supposed to be living? And even our spiritual growth and well-being, you know, how far do I want to grow and study and understand spiritual things and improve my prayer life and be able to meditate and to be able to fast and do other spiritual principles that would help to strengthen my life? When you are purposeful and purpose filled, you would be concerned about your well being. Why? Because you need longevity and you also need wholeness. You see that word there? We need wholeness to do what we do because we can't do this from a place of, you know, brokenness. We can't be impactful when we're broken. All we end up doing is hurting ourselves and hurting people around us. When we have this sense of purpose, it creates security for us, stability, confidence, trust. When we have this sense of purpose, we now want to contribute. Remember, I talked about using our gifts, using your influence, and serving so that you are going to make an impact. What is it that I'm here to contribute to this planet, to my sphere of influence? And then, of course, your purpose connects you, right? Belonging. It connects you to community. Many of you, we are in the same community, Limitless Leaders. That's our little community. And I'm sure you're in many other communities, right? But it's the connection to whatever it is that caused you to connect. Maybe it is for the tips, the support, the safety to belong, to feel like I'm around people who journeying just like me and I don't have it all together, but I'm striving and I'm around other people who are that way. And so when we are purpose centered and we live a purpose centered life, I believe all of these needs will be met. Will they be met at the same time? No. Will they be met at the same rate? No. But I believe that we shouldn't have to start at the bottom of the pyramid and try to work out, spend our lives trying to get to the top. What are your thoughts on that? What do you think? Before I move on quickly, because I see time is going. You don't think this makes sense?
I do. I actually feel, sorry, I actually feel that it helps. I like if you get purpose first, everything kind of makes sense where it would flow. Because once you know what direction you're going into, that brings the clarity. And then that helps grow your passion for what you are supposed to do, understanding that that's your calling. So for me, um, it makes a lot of sense. And that else it also helps solidify your belonging and where you're supposed to be. So you can't have that where you could second guess because you already know what your purpose is and you're working towards your purpose. So I feel it makes a lot of sense.
Good. Thank you, Kristen. Yeah, I think so too, because, it just changes your focus, and I think that the way that society has set up this whole capitalist nature of things that we're just out chasing money and that money is going to solve everything. And, I mean, when we think about sometimes our forefathers and ancestors, they had a whole lot less, but they still were able to do so much, and we look at now what we're doing and we struggling sometimes to raise one child, and we like, how did they do it? How did they do it? How did they raise all of us and have a home and have gainful employ or businesses or whatever the case may be? Like, how did they do it? You know? So it having a whole lot of money, I think that whole thing debunks that. It isn't always just about having a whole lot of money. It's just having that understanding and that focus and all of these things that purpose will help us to attain. So thank you for sharing that. Thank you, Don. I see your comments too, that this is helping to give clarity. So, and the thing about this with purpose is that it's not something that you could just easily digest. Like this session alone is not going to do it. Like for me, it took years of stewing over this stuff, and so don't feel like, okay, well, coming out of this by 8:15, I'm going to have all the clarity in the world. It may not be, but hopefully it just jogs you to the point of continuing to dig deeper, into what this is, and to what you want. Yes, sometimes the whole lot of money comes at the price of personal gain, like peace and contentment, truly knowing yourself, being happy with yourself. Absolutely. Because sometimes chasing money, you lose yourself. Because then people will get you to do things that you don't even care for, that you don't believe in. It's not your values, and when you get to that place of compromise, then what? You know? So when we talk about purpose leaving clues, you really need to just pay attention to your life and things that's happening in your life, right? So some of the clues are your gifts. That's what I talked about, your natural ability. What am I naturally good at, right? Some people are naturally good listeners. Some people are naturally good with money and budgeting, and some people are good with organizing and planning and all of these things. These are clues. These are gifts that you can use for your purpose. What do people compliment me for? What do they admire me about? Right? What problems do I care about and who do they affect? What problems do I solve? What do people always come to you asking for help for? Some of those things are the clues, right? What do I enjoy learning, doing, or helping with? So purpose isn't only for you enjoying it, it's also for you helping others, but you still got to enjoy it. So when I'm doing what I love, it doesn't feel like work. It doesn't feel burdensome. It's something that I love doing. Yes, there may be challenges, and the challenges I enjoy too, because I enjoy unraveling problems and unraveling challenges. They challenge my brain, give me something to think about, right? So these are the 4 signals that you can use to help point your way. Andrea, please, for goodness sake, what are you naturally good at? Managing projects. That's what you're naturally good at. Leading teams. So after you look at these signals, you can start building your purpose map. And all of this I'm actually going to share with you as a handout. So you can expect this after the session to your email. But I will share all of this with you so you can have it to refer to afterwards. But build this up. Purpose becomes clearer when values, passion, strengths, people, and impact meet. So, what is important to me? That's important because you are not going to align yourself with activities, people, places, projects that violate what's important to you. So, if honesty, justice, connection, fair play, passion, whatever it is, if those things are important to you, then that's a clue to where you will align yourself. My niece, she was very passionate about journalism, and she spent the majority of her career pursuing that, and got a lot of exposure and everything until her passion collided with a tribe and impact. And she recognized that, and some of the clues would have been things that we would have done as a family for community outreach, nation building, that type of thing. It's one of the clues. And my late sister, she started this tradition in our family of giving back. And it was something that was born out of her own pain, something that had happened to her in her life. And she decided that instead of allowing that to consume her, she would channel that into doing an event. And so she planned an event for senior citizens. And that became an annual tradition. At Christmas, we would find some cause to give back to as a family. And after she passed away, that very year, because she passed away in October, and that very year, my niece said, what are we going to do? Are we going to still do a give back? If she was here, she would want us to do it. So we said, well, we're not really thinking about it, but if that's something you're passionate about, if you want to do it, we'll support you. And so she decided, yes, I think I want to do it. I want to do it in her memory, in honor of her and everything. So we're like, okay, fine. At the time, remember now, she's a journalist. Her boss said, why don't you capture this give back on video? And she says to him, what? For what? Like, who wants to see what our family is doing? And he said, well, I think people would want to see it. He said, capture it and we'll make it into a Christmas special and we'll air it on TV. And can I tell you that that has begun a 10-year journey, actually 10 years this year, from that very first idea to have had 10 shows that have appeared on the national television network. But she's formed a nonprofit organization that every year we have a focus on where we're going to give back or do community service, to the point where now this is what she wants to do. Now she will use her journalism, she's used her connections and people she's met, she's able to fundraise. I mean, she can just get people to donate like out of the wazoo. I'm like, wow, right? This is a totally different spin on what she thought was her passion. Now she's understood what her purpose is. She uses her gifts in journalism to do so, right? But her purpose is not journalism. Kristen.
So, just a question. So, can we sometimes confuse passion with purpose?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we can.
Okay.
I've done it. Like, for instance, I really enjoy music, right? Music and singing and all of that other stuff. And so at some point, I used to feel like, well, maybe I should be doing that, and I've had to realize that if my purpose is to inspire people to live their purpose and live purposefully, I can use music as a part of that. So I'm not, making the passion my purpose, but I'm using my passion to fuel the purpose. Because at the end of the day, your purpose is the difference you want to make in the world. That's really the bottom line. What is the impact? And for who? That's important as well. Who do I want to help? Who am I serving in this purpose? And you have to be, kind of specific about that, Oh, that's Brunel. Okay, thanks for joining, Brunel.
Thank you too. Good night, everyone. Hope we can get the recording as well.
Absolutely, yes. We send that to you
Okay.
soon. All right, use your passion to fuel your purpose. Just make sure I put your name, my name in that journal now. So let's move on quickly. So this again, how does this translate or align with career? So the purpose question is, what am I called to solve? And everybody on this call solves a problem for somebody. So Andrea, you was asking, what am I naturally good at? What are you called to solve? Tell us. Tell us. What are you called to solve?
That was an open mic invitation.
Yes, ma'am.
I feel driven to bring awareness to the Agile movement to the Caribbean region and to make people aware of opportunities as Agile practitioners and not just project managers.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I've been working on for the past 5 years, building not only myself, but also building others and making them aware of opportunities where they could have professional development and opportunities to grow their network and meet people all around the world and find passion and purpose in a lucrative career.
Mm-hmm. And what problems does the Agile movement solve for people?
Well, right now, I'm niching down my focus from being so broad to looking at sustainable development using technological innovations and how we can use AI technology to solve some of the environmental crises that we're experiencing.
Ooh. So you can figure out how we can turn down the heat on the sun? Because Charles,
Listen, I wish I could put AC inside my body.
listen to me, especially when you're after 50, you got over 50, you got a whole different heat going on. Oh man. So the purpose question, what am I called to solve? And in your career, then let me move toward those problems. That's really what I'm here to solve, right? For me, I want to see people in thriving work environments. What does that mean? And you know what? I've said that, and I kid you not. The majority of the work environments that I've gone into have been chaotic at best. Chaotic, toxic, complex. And I'm like, what? And then, you would sit back and you would ask, well, God, why you put me in these situations? And then you realize, well, whoa, maybe I'm actually where I'm supposed to be because I'm supposed to help them solve these problems. You know, it's amazing. So here comes Simmone to the rescue. Well, child, some of these places have been beyond my scope. I gotta go back to God because I'm like, hey, I know if y'all, I really helping because I mean it's sometimes so complex, so challenging, so difficult, but it's given me a lot of insight on systems and how systems are operating, and then how do you solve some of the problems, and are all of the problems there for you to solve? Because I think that's where, especially in my more youthful days, I used to go in thinking, I coming in like a soldier coming in to just take down, and I'm realizing more and more that that isn't the strategic way to fight some of these battles, and so you have to determine what the battles are that you can fight and that you can win, and so that's the system doesn't take you down along with it, right? Exactly. I need theme music. Da, 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 da. But yeah, sometimes the people don't want their problems to be solved, and that's a whole different matter, right? Who am I called to serve? So this is where we understand what audience am I called to? Who are the customers? Who are the people who are gonna partake, the team, the community that's going to benefit from the contribution that I have to give? How am I designed to contribute? Skills, strengths, leadership styles. When I looked up the definition of my name, Simmone is a derivative of Simon, like Simon Peter, and it means one who hears. And so one of the skills that I have to use in my purpose is listening. I listen to people all the time. People randomly will come and tell me all their problems. I could be anywhere. People don't have to know me from a can of paint, but they will share, they will open up. I've had people who say, boy, you just made me feel, you was Oprah. You just made me feel like I just want to sit and talk to you and cry, you know? And those are the things that you follow. Those are the clues. This is how I'm designed to contribute. I'm designed to look for talent, to see what people have to offer and connect them to opportunities and so forth. Like leadership style. How do I lead? Am I democratic? Am I a servant leader? All of those things are part of your design. This is how you were made. This is what drives you because this is how you're going to serve the community that you're called to. What environment helps me to thrive? And so this now speaks to culture, values, pace, and support. So for some people, they like environments that fast paced and moving. I gotta be doing something. I gotta be right. Some people they want something that's slower. People may want something that's more flexible, right? Because of where my life is right now, I want to be able to do some work from home type thing. I want to know that I'm supported. Is there continuing education? Do I have a leader that's going to support what I'm doing? The culture, is it a great culture? Is it family friendly? Is it team oriented? Do we have fun? Do we give back to the community? All of those things. This purpose question will help you to translate into the type of organization you want to work with because you could get some great offers for places that you would never want to be in. And that's where the clarity becomes important. You are able to say, you know what? They could be offering me a lot of money. They could be offering me all of the perks. And on paper, this looks awesome. But there are elements of this that I feel would cause me to step into misalignment. One of the ways that I am recognizing and getting more clarity is actually when, I started off by saying that I am working toward independence, right? Working for myself. So do you know whenever you make these commitments, that's when you can get the most job offers? And now you're like, boy, this is a good offer, or this is a big position, this could be the biggest position I ever had in my life. But now you misaligned and you will suffer in that opportunity because you went in the wrong direction. Because what was driving you? It wasn't purpose. Purpose was not driving you. That might have been status, right? That's because you're supposed to be CEO. And what will I courageously pursue next? So, what is the role that I'm looking for? What is the kind of project that's coming up next for me? What's the platform or the path that I'm going to follow? So, the alignment check is, does my next move honor my values, use my strength, serve real people, and move me toward impact? And if these can't check off the majority of these boxes, if not all, then you really need to pause and make sure that this is the right opportunity for you. Okay. So I want to talk just briefly about pain. Oh, why did this go? Where am I? Why is this moving in a direction I don't want it to go? I'll go one more slide back. Okay. So I want to just say briefly about pain. Oftentimes we feel that when we are experiencing painful situations that we're not in purpose. But pain does not have to stop purpose. Pain can be a catalyst. Pain can be a signal that what has caused me pain may actually become my platform. If you have been, the underdog, or you've been bullied all your life, or you've been feeling like, I've been hurt in this particular area, sometimes you going through that experience gives you such an insight into it that it plays an integral part of how that thing is supposed to be played out in your purpose. That may be a part of the solutions that you may be offering. That may be part of the advocacy that you may be standing on. It may change your perspective of how you lead, how you serve, how you work, how you advocate. So we have to name the pain, identify the lesson in it, and then this one is so important: serve from freedom, not from the wound. This is where we talk about people bleeding on others. You want to lead from that place of wholeness, right? That you want to understand that, your pain doesn't have to be somebody else's pain. And we see that so often, right? They say, well, I had to come up the rough side of the mountain. That's what my leader did to me, and that's how I had to learn. But that's why you can make everybody around you suffer. Because you suffered. That was not the point of the pain. The point of the pain was for not for you to inflict more pain on people. But now, how do I become an agent, a channel of healing and wholeness and building? Okay. So pain is also an indicator of where we're headed. So here is how you can get to where you can really clarify your purpose, right? And these 3 elements can create your purpose statements. So you want to clarify your core message. What is the message that you represent in the world? What is your method, the actions, the talents, the tools that you use to share it? And your people, who are you called to serve? What's the community that you are called to serve? Right? So in Andrea's example, for instance, her core message may be somewhere around agility, the ability to think fast, do more, whatever the case may be, whatever agility represents. She does that through, and whatever that may be, right? Leadership, education, empowerment, whatever the case may be, right? I'm just making stuff up. And then your people would be, you said, in the Caribbean. So this is something that I want to bring to the people in the Caribbean, agilists, people who could be agilists, right? And so that is how you begin to frame that big picture. And notice that message doesn't have anything to do with a career or a job, right? It's higher than that. It's a higher calling and mission. Yes, you can do it on the job, but the job is not it. That's the point I'm trying to make here, right? The job is not just it. It's about what you're called to do with this message, this passion, these strengths that you have, and for the people that you're called to serve. All right. So I shared my purpose statement. So my strengths: I teach, I want to model, and I want to inspire. And my core message is purposeful living. So I want people to tap into the fact that they have purpose, that they can live this limitless life. That's really the premise behind the name. And it's limitless because we don't have to be confined by anything that's going to stop us from living out our purpose. And I remember coming up with this quote in COVID, where I shared that my purpose is not on lockdown. I cannot be stopped. We cannot be stopped. You cannot be stopped. Once you are purposeful, you cannot be stopped. I don't care. And that's why you will have people writing books and doing things from prison. They cannot be stopped. There's nothing that anyone can do. Your purpose will find a way. It's like the flower that grows through the concrete, cannot be stopped. And so that is that part. And then who am I serving? People who are ready to be radically limitless. So people, that could be men, that could be women, that could be children, like I don't care who the audience is. Are you ready to live life without limits and on purpose? Then I am here to teach and model and inspire purposeful living and how you can do that. So that's my tribe. So ain't everybody going to be into that. And so the people that I tend to attract are people who may be transitioning. They have questions about their next steps. They want to grow. They want more. It's always about people who are on the move, who want more, who want to do more, and they're looking for someone to guide. That's the people who come to me, and whether that's an organization, whether that's an individual, whether that's a group, that's how I know that I'm aligned, because it comes toward me. And then I'm able to determine that other things that come toward me that may not be aligned are the things that I should say no to. You know? So we just got a couple slides to go and then we're done. So just last little point here about courage. So remember we talked about purpose bringing clarity, and clarity bringing movement. And in order for us to move, we need courage. And as this says here, you can be clear and still afraid. But the objective here is to move in spite of the fear. So you want to be able to choose what is the next best step for me. And I got to do it while I'm afraid. And that's been for me, pursuing these initiatives, spending money to organize and get systems in place and all these other things, host events. Those things are fearful. But you still have to move toward, because you never know when that moment is going to happen, when everything just really comes together and blows up, in the way that you seen it in the very end, right? Use your values as the filter. Make sure that whatever it is, it's lining up with what you believe in. Request support and accountability. So have people in your life who are going to not criticize or not pull you down and not say, hey, you can't do this. But those people who will say, I can help you. Do you need help? What you need? What you been doing? You working on your goals? Those are the kinds of people that you need in your life. Act before certainty is perfect. A lot of times we're waiting for perfection. That's where I used to be like, well, I need this to be perfect. I need this to be a certain way. That's why I posted the thing about my booth at the leadership summit the other day that was held last weekend. I didn't have everything that I wanted to have a booth. And I was like, you know what? I can use what I have. I had pulled out even the little stands to put my books on. I forgot them on the table. I said, I don't have time to go back home for these things. I got to make it work. So guess what? The books had to lay on the table, and guess what? I sold books. It didn't matter if they was on a stand or not. Right? So I used what I had and I showed up. And that for me was a test, right? That it doesn't always have to be perfect. Use what you have and start. Then gather evidence from the small wins. The small wins, I sold some books. What else did I learn? Make sure I put the book stands and make sure they're in the bag before you put the bag in the car, right? Or prepare that more in advance, or get some stuff, or whatever the case may be, right? Gather the evidence. But there are small wins to be won. We don't win them if we don't try. and then evaluate and adjust. You could do it differently the next time, then do it differently the next time. You know? Yes, absolutely. When you do it afraid, it pays off. And sometimes it pays off in ways you did not even see or expect. So let's move with courage. Let's challenge ourselves. So here's another challenge, right? Name where you are and what you really want. Spend some time the rest of this week really thinking about what do you want? Look at your clues. What have been the things that people have been drawn to you? What type of people have been drawn to you? And what strengths are they pulling on from you? Right? Pay attention to those clues. Draft your purpose statement. As I mentioned, I'm going to send you a handout that's going to help you. All of this stuff that I'm sharing today will be on it, and you have some pages that you'll be able to start writing and drafting, right? Test it against your career, test it against your life and your dreams and where you are, see yourself headed in the future. And then take one courageous action. What do you need to do? Who do you need to ask? What do you need to ask for? What do you need to apply for? This last week, I applied for a grant. I put in one proposal, like, whoa, I didn't even know how to accomplish it. But it was a big dream on my heart, and I put it in. If I get it, great. If I don't, it's still, I formulated something that I will be able to take advantage of. Create something, decide something, start something. This is the challenge that I'm giving you over the next 4 weeks. Do something toward living out your purpose. And so I'm also offering, as we conclude and look at these takeaways, first and foremost, you were born for a reason. All of us, we are on this planet because God wants us here. There are people here, there are causes on this planet that we need to serve. And you have the solution to the problems that they have. People are waiting. It says the earth is groaning for us to come into the knowledge of who we are. They're waiting. For those of us that are in the workspace, our career should align with this, right? And that we need to take courage to pursue. There's no reason why we have a purpose without pursuit. Pursuit, if we don't pursue, purpose is just insight without impact. What's the point of knowing what your purpose is if you're just going to sit on it? There's no point to that. You have to take action. And so I hope that this session will encourage you to take one courageous step forward toward doing something that you have been procrastinating on, squashing. Yes, it's like window shopping. You're just looking, you got money in your bag, but you're just like, oh, well, I'll come back and check it out. And that's the worst thing when you go back and it's gone. Woo. And that happens. Don't you feel horrible when you know you had an idea and you see someone else come out with it before you do? That's a sign. That's a sign saying that you are taking too long to make a move. Good. I'm proud of you too. Keep making those bold moves. I making some bold moves myself, because at the end of the day, if you don't do it, who's going to do it? So thank you, Miss Donna Marie. Challenge accepted. I'll be checking in on you from time to time to see what's going on with that. And if anyone would like to have a clarity session, I'm offering a special discounted rate. And of course, if you're in my Limitless Leaders community, then you have all access fast to me. So if you would like to have uh, a clarity session on this to help you move forward some of the things that you've been thinking about, you just maybe want some more accountability or support or someone to bounce it off to help you frame it, then feel free to reach out. As mentioned, I will share the resources with you and, share it with someone who you think may need it, you know, because you would really be surprised to know who's still really struggling with understanding what all of this means. So thank you so much for joining tonight. We went a bit over time and I apologize, but I hope that this has been helpful for you as you move forward into purpose and live your life upside down. We living from the top of the pyramid, purpose at the center. And we are going to have all of our needs met and we are going to make an impact in this world. Oh, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate all of you. I truly do. You're a blessing to my life. You keep me going. You keep me accountable to these monthly sessions. And I appreciate all of you. Thank you so much for joining and enjoy your evening.